If you walked into a coffee shop and noticed that half the customers were robots quietly ordering drinks they would never drink, you would find that deeply strange, and you would talk about it for weeks. On the internet, that is simply an ordinary Tuesday. According to the 2026 Bad Bot report, automated traffic accounted for 53% of all global web traffic in 2025, the second consecutive year that machines, not people, made up the majority of activity online. Before the number itself means anything, it is worth being precise about the category. A bot in this context is any automated software program interacting with a website or application without a human directly driving each individual action. This spans everything from search engine crawlers, indexing pages, to AI systems scraping content for training data, to monitoring tools, checking whether the site is online, to genuinely malicious programs attempting fraud or data theft. Not all of this is harmful, and not all of it is even unwanted, but all of it is definitionally non-human traffic, and it's now outweighing the humankind. This isn't a sudden single-year spike. It is the continuation of a trend imperva that has dragged since 2013. It is 13th consecutive annual report. Bot traffic first crossed the 50% threshold in the 2024 data, registering at 51%. The 2025 data, published in 2026, pushed that figure to 53%, meaning the trend didn't just cross a symbolic line and plateau, it kept climbing. Correspondingly, the human share of global web traffic has fallen to just 47% and continues to decline year over year. The timing isn't a coincidence. It tracks almost exactly with the mainstream availability of generative AI and generative AI tools, and more recently, autonomous AI agents capable of independently browsing, searching, and interacting with websites on a person's behalf. Imperva's report specifically highlights the emergence of these AI agents as a defining new category driving the acceleration, distinct from the scratch engine crawlers and simple scraping scripts that dominated bot traffic in earlier years. The report's own framing captures the shift succinctly. Businesses are increasingly not serving customers alone anymore. They are serving machines acting on customers' behalf. And that distinction changes how nearly every website, from an online retailer to a small blog, needs to think about who or what is actually on the other end of the page side. This shift has a real, measurable economic body count. Business Insider's organic search traffic fell 55% between April 2022 and April 2025, a decline that the company has directly linked to a broader restructuring that included cutting 21% of its staff. The education technology company Chegg reported a 49% decline in non-subscriber traffic year over year. The music publication Stereogum reported losing 70% of its advertising revenue in 2025. None of these are anomalies. They are early, concrete causalities, or casualties, if you'd like to call it, structural shift in how people and increasingly AI systems answering questions on people's behalf actually consume information online, bypassing the publisher's website entirely in a growing share of cases. It is worth breaking the 53% figure down further, because the composition matters as much as the total. Imperva's data splits bot traffic into two categories: good bots comprising roughly 13% of all traffic, legitimate search engine crawlers, monitoring services, and sanctioned AI crawlers indexing context or content with permission, and bad bots comprising roughly 40% built specifically for scraping, credential theft, fraud, or overwhelming servers, making the seventh consecutive year that bad bot share has grown. The report also documents a striking shift in bad bot sophistication. 41% of bad bot traffic now actively disguises itself as ordinary Chrome browser traffic, up from 39% the year before, and an increasing share routes through residential proxy networks specifically to blend in with genuine human users, meaning even the bad half of the statistic is becoming actively harder to distinguish from legitimate activity through conventional detection methods. There is a second-order consequence to this shift that arguably stranger than the traffic statistic itself. An Ahrefs analysis of 900,000 newly published web pages in April 2025 found that 74.2% contained AI-generated content, combined with separate estimates suggesting 30 to 40% of the currently active web is now synthetic in origin. This creates a genuinely novel technical problem. The large language models being trained to power the next generation of AI systems are increasingly drawing their training data from a web substantially populated by previous AI systems' own output. Researchers studying this dynamic have begun describing the risk of a slow compounding quality degradation, sometimes called model collapse, as each generation of AI trains partly on the artifacts of the generation before it rather than on a continuously refreshed supply of original human-generated material. The practical implication for anyone building on or operating anything online is a genuine reframing of what a visitor even means. Optimizing purely for human page views in an environment where roughly half of all the traffic is automated and where a growing share of human questions get answered by an AI assistant without ever generating a page view at all, risks measuring the growing thing entirely. The businesses adapting most effectively are the ones treating bot and AI agents traffic as a distinct category to be deliberately understood, governed, and in some cases served on its own terms via structured data, machine reliable, readable licensing agreements, and API access, rather than a background nuisance to be filtered out entirely. We built the internet on an implicit assumption, backed into 2 decades of business models that a visit meant a person, and a person meant a potential customer, a reader, and an audience member. That assumption has now been structurally false for 2 years running, and the gap is widening, not narrowing. The organizations that will do well from here aren't the ones mourning the old assumption. They are the ones building for the actual machine majority internet that already exists. Thank you so much for your presence, and I'm really looking forward to your feedback, interactions, your personal experience with this. Do you have that feeling? Was it, tell me, I'd love to hear from you if it was a sudden feeling that the life online has been transformed into more consistent chatbot environment rather than a human interactive environment. Let me know in the comments if you have questions. As usual, I'd love to hear from you and make sure I'll read and answer each one of them once I can. See you next time.